Hi everyone, I'm Ali GREYMOND. Today I'm answering questions about OCD recovery that you asked below my videos. First question is, hi Ali, apologies, but a few more important questions that would not only help me but also help others. For me, it looks like caffeine is causing me quite a lot of OCD. Without caffeine, OCD subsides a lot. I really do agree with that. I don't see it with everybody, but I would say 90% of people that I talk to experience this as well. So avoiding caffeine as much as possible, a good idea. Yes. You know, in simplistic terms, right? Your brain is on fire when it comes to OCD. Your brain is on fire when it comes to recovery work because it's definitely, if you're doing recovery work, you know it's not easy. So it's not the best idea to pump it up some more with stimulant. You know what I mean? So it's just saying, okay, my brain needs room to heal. I'm gonna give it that room. I'm gonna allow it to rest. And this is another relaxation, sleep. All of this comes in. Doing the opposite of caffeine. I understand that we all lead busy lives and things need to get done, but you always have to put your recovery as a priority. Will I have to avoid caffeine for the rest of my life? Absolutely not. And not that I'm proud of this, but I can tell you that I drink a lot of coffee now just to kind of keep up with everything that I do. And I really should work on it. But it doesn't have any effect on me in terms of anxiety or anything like that. So it's just for the time of recovery. And I would say just be careful maybe first few months after recovery. Let's say first 6 months after recovery. Maybe if you are in a position where you do want to drink caffeine, introducing it slowly as you get more certain in your recovery, more comfortable, your brain is not as anxious, like the anxiety is going away and then it's gone for a certain amount of months, then starting to introduce caffeine as well as stress levels, right? Like you're putting on more continuously more stress on yourself, as you go, because we do live in real world where there is stress, so it's important to be okay with that as well. Secondly, before having OCD, I experienced significant stress life event. This makes me wonder about hormones imbalance and adrenal fatigue. What should I do about this? So, in terms of adrenal fatigue, if you guys Google that, you will see a lot of information on it. I think most of the population experiences some form or some state of adrenal fatigue generally because this is how our lives are now. But of course, people with OCD, I mean, you're pumping out stress hormones all day long, for most people for years, right? So, of course, there's adrenal fatigue happening. There's ways to help that. I do have the nutrition book as well that kind of talks about adrenal fatigue is in one of the chapters as well. I do think it's important to deal with OCD or without, but especially for people with OCD. I do stress in terms of stress. Stress is a normal part of life, and you do need to be able to function in stressful situations. And that's when I talk about recovery, and that we need to have at least 6 months of you feeling fine to say yes, you are recovered. Because during that 6 months, right, bad things happen, good stresses, bad stresses. So you can see that even in very stressful situations, your OCD is still not coming back. That's what I consider full recovery, that you can function under any amount of stress. You know what I mean? So I think it's all fine in moderation, but considering the fact that everybody who I've ever talked to, I shouldn't really be saying in absolutes like everybody, but pretty on my memory right now, anyways, everybody who I've talked to who has OCD or had OCD rather, they're born sensitive. I was the same way, born as right from the get-go, very very sensitive kid. And when you are a sensitive person, you also have to generally in life watch your stress levels. I mean, the whole OCD recovery really toughens you up in that sense, because you go through so much. But still, I would say, employing meditation practices, having normal sleep patterns, getting enough sleep, normal sleeping times, all of that really helps in terms of just general well-being, because your mind does need to have an outlet to rest, at some point, right? And then when you do all that, then the hormones will balance back out. I mean, I can tell you just from my own experience, It all balances back out. But it takes a little time for it to balance back out. It's not an instant thing. So I think that as you get closer to full recovery, so because in the beginning your mind is going a million miles an hour, and it's hard to focus on anything, on doing meditation, on anything really, other than just really trying to hold on and not react, right? But as you get closer and closer to recovery, and you do have kind of mental room to do something else, try to make a new hobby out of it, a new habit out of it, and focus on that, almost like in a way, as a sidetracking your mind technique of, oh well, I'm going to research meditation, instead of researching whatever your OCD topic was, right? I'm going to research the effects of meditation, I'm going to research this and research that, so kind of going down that road helps. Next question is, hi Ali, when I try to disregard a thought, I have a constant feeling that I'm just burying my head in the sand, and that I'm just hiding from the truth because it's upsetting to me. It always feels like I really should be giving it some serious attention. Is this normal? If so, will it eventually feel okay? Yes, it is normal, because, after all, you've trained your mind to think that this is important. And now all of a sudden you're saying, like, never mind, it's not important. Of course, your mind is gonna, give a strong pushback. So you kind of have to expect that it pretty much happens with every type of OCD. This is just how it goes. So take it as a symptom. Still don't give it attention, even if it's screaming at you to give it attention. You have to choose to refuse, even though it feels uncomfortable. It's normal. This is how OCD goes. This is kind of the next stage. Well, but if you don't, otherwise, what if something happens? Like those kinds of thoughts. So it's just part of the recovery process. It's just your brain is trying to pull all the stops to get you to react. The self-reassurance is the hardest part to resist, I find. Yeah, it is, because with self-reassurance, it's thoughts, right? So they happen really fast, and sometimes it's almost on autopilot. So as soon as you realize you are falling into it, you have to choose to stop. But a lot of the times, by the time you realize it, you've already been thinking about it for a few minutes. So it's, with that, there's not much you can do. As long as you keep stopping yourself, after a while it won't become a habit to think about it, and then it stops completely. It's like not taking pain relief when you have a headache. Yeah, it's exactly like that. But it comes down to a choice. You need to make a choice to recover. If you make a choice to recover, you'll start to feel better. But just be prepared that the first stage is your mind actually tries to send you more thoughts in order to get you into reaction. So just be ready for that to happen, and when it does, again, refuse the reaction. Choose to refuse the reaction, even though it feels so real, even though it feels so uncomfortable, because that's how it feels for everybody experiencing OCD. Next question is, I talked to my mom and she thinks I don't have OCD because I don't show OCD tendencies, whatever that means. It's making me scared, and even though I believe I have OCD, there is doubt. So sometimes OCD grabs onto, but what if this is not OCD, right? I mean, most of the time, in a way, right? So because the person is always trying to reassure themselves that, well, this is just OCD, right? So I mean, in order to recover, you have to do the work, and your mom means very well, but she's not an expert on OCD, and she might be thinking of, okay, well, if you're not organizing things or cleaning things, then it's not OCD, which, we've gone way beyond that. I'm hoping, in general terms, right? Because there's so many different types of OCD, but somebody who's not trained in it or have not gone through it themselves wouldn't know it. So you just have to say, okay, that's her opinion, you have your opinion, and that's it. I mean, it's OCD can have many themes. So I agree with you. This is OCD, and you have to treat it like OCD. So exposure response prevention. Exposure, even if you're just having a thought, the thought itself is the exposure. Preventing the response of fear. So preventing that reaction. Even if you react for a second, not doing more than that. And I love how somebody said, well, you have the support of this group and happy to be here when you need to talk. And it's just, I mean, you guys are amazing, honestly. Sometimes I'm talking to people probably 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours each day. So it's hard for me to always, get on top of doing the videos. But it's, the community here is unbelievable. And this is what it takes, it takes the support, continuous support of people are around the person to pull them out of it. It's, I mean, it's just, you guys are awesome. It's just unbelievable. Next question is it bad if I take a gap year for OCD reasons? I don't know if it's smart to start a career or college when my mental health is at this point, or should I just go ahead with it? Um, it's hard for me to judge because I don't know the severity of your OCD. I don't really like to put things off because of OCD generally, unless the person's like, no, I can't handle it. So if you're certain that you can't handle it, then I would say, maybe taking a little bit of time is okay. But if you think maybe I can, maybe I can't, then that means yes, you can. Because if you're at home, just not doing much, your OCD will most likely get worse. But at the same time, if you're super stressed at school, then that's also going to affect your OCD. So I would say maybe going to college, or like starting a career, going to college, but not putting so much pressure on yourself. So maybe not having a full day of classes, but half day. I don't know what kind of your situation allows, but allowing yourself to do it, but not to 100%, but to like a 70% standard. So you do have some room to focus on the mental health as well. Another question was about the OCD in dreams. And when you're not reacting to something, you're choosing not to react, you're actively working on your recovery, OCD can come in dreams. Actually, OCD can come in dreams all the time, but especially I see it a lot more when the person is actually doing the work. I would say maybe 70% of cases that I deal with have this kind of happen at least at some point, if not regularly. And it can have all kinds of feelings, sensations. I mean, all of it is normal. It's just your mind trying to bring up something in the dream that you're not addressing in real life, because it thinks that the OCD thoughts are important, right? Because that's what it learned before. So it's trying to bring it up in the dream, in hopes to get it to you somehow. To get you to react somehow, and it can make it feel very real in even in physical ways as well. So that's all very common. Just try. It can be startling when those kinds of things happen, but you have to view it as, okay, well, this is just part of OCD. This is just another symptom of OCD, and not taking it seriously. In terms of stopping that from happening, there's not much you can do to stop the dreams from happening and all of the things that kind of come out of the dreams as well. It will fix itself by itself, so as you do recovery, it will sort itself out. So just try not to react with fear to it, is what I'm saying. Also, a person was saying that they're struggling not having caffeine at all. I think if you limit it to 1 cup of coffee in the morning, I think that might be okay. Or maybe if the mornings are really tough for you to begin with, then maybe not having it in the morning, but waiting until a little bit later on in the day when you're feeling a little bit calm. So kind of play around with it and see what you can do to better the situation in the way that works for you. Because ultimately, each person's recovery is different because their life is different. The OCD thoughts are the same. That how OCD makes you feel is pretty much the same, but because it's different for everybody a little bit. So do what works for you. But however you can limit it, or maybe doing half decaf, half regular coffee, would also be a good idea. So kind of coming up with creative solutions here. Ruminating reassurance are the most common compulsion. Sometimes I end up doing a lot of rumination and analyzing, especially when I'm doing mundane things like taking a shower or driving. The brain goes into an overactive mode. And, this is the thing is, if you can't stop yourself, at least try to delay or try to set up a limit. So you're saying in the next hour, I'm not going to allow myself any reassurance. So I'm going to delay it basically for an hour. After that, I'm going to do a little bit of reassurance, and then I'm going to delay myself for another hour. Then make it the next day, try to make it 2 hours, then 3 hours. So you're cutting down on the amount of reassurance. A lot of it is also just a habit that the brain developed over time. There's the fear, but then there's also a habit that it just goes to those thoughts. And then as it goes to them, then the fear comes in and all of that as well. So So unplugging just like you plugged yourself in over time with this, now you're unplugging little by little, but setting a limit at the very least, I think, is an important thing. Next question is, it appears that my OCD is intertwined with strong sense of anger and resentment. My OCD has roots in feelings guilty and angry about myself due to some past experience. Sometimes I feel like these feelings are ratcheting up my OCD to some extent. How should I deal with this? I lose clarity and momentum when this happens. This urges me to keep thinking and analyzing about my OCD and situation, that it feels like I'm never recovering from OCD to this strong anger. Thank you. And you have to understand that anytime you're allowing yourself to react with anger, allowing yourself to analyze, you are taking a step back. So whatever you need to do to pull yourself out of that situation, whether just calling somebody and talking to them about something else, just to sidetrack your attention, because if you're talking to somebody, you can't at the same time really be thinking much, if you're having an active conversation, or going out and doing something, not allowing yourself to just sit there, lay there and worry about it, because that's the worst you can do. So being active, delaying, just like I was saying, like delaying it for half an hour, even if you need to, but doing something to reduce the amount of analyzing that you're doing, because if you keep going like this, it's going to continue to happen like this. You're not going to get out by doing what you're doing. So you need to find a way to reduce. And also, if there's situations or conversations or things that trigger kind of this type of OCD thought, being aware of it when you are in those situations, being prepared that the OCD will come in, and then when it does, you don't have to react. You're going to choose not to react, and really pushing through that way as much as you possibly can. Next question is, I am debilitated by my OCD. I'm losing the ability to sleep, not sleeping most weeks, at least one night a week. Uh, um, can be up till dawn. I end up stuck with the thoughts all evening. I would say with that, if it sounds really severe, just email me, and if you are willing to do the recovery program, I think that in those kinds of extreme situations where you can't pull yourself out, I would suggest doing the program. But it still comes down to analyzing, that you have to reduce the amount of analyzing, but I'm here if you can't do it on your own. And actually, the next question goes right along with it. How can I contact you with the recovery program? All the information is on youhaveocd.com. You just go there, sign up for the package you want. There's many different packages set up for different types, like stages of OCD. Some are worse in terms of severity and just need more help. And some are for people who are going through it and just have a question here and there. So it's basically goes from one conversation, one session, to daily sessions, depending on what it is that you need. You can also do the appointment right from the website, and then we will talk at the set appointment time. That's all the questions I have for today. I know, guys, I see your messages. I hear what you're saying, and I'm really trying to get back on track with doing videos. There's just a lot of kind of gears in motion that are a little bit preventing me from doing as much as I can do. But I am doing my best to get it back on track, and I will definitely get it back on track. It's just kind of a matter of time. So hopefully I will see you soon. Keep posting questions, and I will see you in the next video.